Scott, welcome to the show. I've heard you say that business doesn't get easier, you just get better at business. Can you explain that to me?
Yeah, so basically, when I first started in business, I never knew very much. In business, I knew all about my field. I served my time as a joiner, I trained as a quantity surveyor, and I started my own building firm. But being a builder is different from being a joiner or being a quantity surveyor. So being a boss is completely different, no matter what field you're in, whether you're a banker, a lawyer, an architect, a builder, a hairdresser. Being a boss is different. Running your own company is different. So I used to always think it would be easier when I learned that, or it'd be easier when I got that contract, or it'd be easier when I got that member of staff. But it doesn't get any easier. You just get better at handling the problems. Business is hard. No, if it was easy, everybody would be doing it. But it's hard.
Yeah.
But it just gets, so it's hard, but it gets easier when you have the experience and you've learned how to deal with situations that come up, because these situations are always going to come up. I have a wee story that I tell people, that basically when you first start in business, people are taking your feet away, they're tripping you up, they're pushing you over, you're getting, sorry, I'm going to swear, you get shit thrown at you every single day.
Yeah.
And at first it just hits you, knocks you down, knocks you over, takes the wind out of your sails. As you get a bit better at business, you manage to basically duck it. You basically manage to miss the shit that they're throwing, but they're still throwing it. You just have to get better. You get better at avoiding it. You get better at, and it's hard, but it's also good, it's exciting. And everybody makes mistakes. As long as you don't repeat them, you'll do well. So you have to learn from your mistakes. And I'm quite happy and I'm quite open even now to say, look, I've made a mistake, we're changing course. A lot of people have realised nowadays, see if somebody's on the wrong course, a lot of people nowadays would rather just stay on the wrong course rather than admit they've made a mistake. So for me, I'm quite happy to put my hand up and say, oh, sorry, I know I said that. I know that was a plan. Change their mind. That's not working. We're going this way now. And I think that's sensible, but there's a lot of people who don't do that. Don't know if it's saving face or what. So yeah,
No.
to answer your question, you get better at business. Business is always hard.
Yeah. Yeah, I take that on board, and I agree with that. So take me right back then. So you started off as a joiner, and you've done quite a lot in recent years. I would class you as being successful, but I know there would have been challenges within that. So take me right back to how it started.
So I grew up in my mum, my dad, and my wee sister, 7 years younger than me. So I basically grew up in a 2-bedroom flat. And when my wee sister was born, my mum and dad put a stud partition across the kitchen, halved it. I got the back half with no windows, my bedroom, but that's what we could afford. So I was loved, clothed, fed, had a great childhood. My mum and dad were just, they couldn't do enough for us. It was a brilliant childhood, but we had no money. So I remember BMX came out in 1984 and I wanted a BMX bike. And my mum said, sorry, son, I can't afford to buy you a BMX bike. And this was the key that's moved me in my life, I believe. She said, when you work, you can buy anything you want. And I said, when I work, I can buy anything you want. She says, yeah, you can buy anything you want. So I went away and I got 2 jobs and I went down every week and I paid £5 towards my bike, picked my bike, and got my card stamped saying it was £200. And first time I paid the £5, I went down to 195. Then the next week I paid my £5, 190. Then I realised, you know what? If I actually had 4 jobs, I could pay £10 to get my bike twice as fast. So I got 4 jobs. And I started, that was maybe my entrepreneurial spirit came around. I actually started selling tablet and macaroon around the doors as a 14-year-old boy, just chapping the doors. So I'd like to buy some macaroon and tablet. And so I had my 4 jobs, got my bike. And then ever since then, I've just worked. I used to buy and sell Pringle jumpers and do wherever there was money to be made. I would be looking at things. So I got my sort of buying and selling experience pre-school. Before I left school.
Yeah.
And then started, probably not something that you maybe should be seeing on the chat, but at school I just found it boring. I was very clever at school. I could pass all my exams without trying, but it never interested me. So when something doesn't interest me, I don't apply any time to it at all. So I started BMXing and breakdancing rather than going to school. So I got thrown out of school with no qualifications. My dad says, you're not lying about the house, you'll be getting a job. So he got me a job with his friend as a joiner. Never wanted to be a joiner, but he got me a job as a joiner. Yeah. I then realised that, oh no, what have I done? I'm actually, in where I grew up, tradesmen, and I was a tradesman, so I'm not being derogatory to them, but quite a lot of tradesmen back in the days, it was working, going to the pub, getting up,
Yeah.
working, going to the pub was kind of the lifestyle. I wanted more out of life. I had, as I say, because I had been working for myself, I had some money when I was a schoolboy, so I was buying bikes, I was buying some nice clothes and things, so I wanted money. So I made it that first week as an apprentice joiner, I made it my mission to be the best joiner that you could have. I was going to be the best at my game. And that's the only way I knew then. I never knew about business. I never grew up in a family that had businesses. I grew up in a family for people who work for people. So I just
Yeah.
thought my whole experience was you went to work and you worked your way up
Yeah.
in that firm. My dad started as the sweeping the floor. He worked in that firm his whole life, and he ended up being the managing director of it. But he went all the way up from.
Yeah.
And so I just thought you started somewhere, and you hear stories that people would go to Standard Life or the bank and they start as a junior and they work their way up. So I presumed I would be a joiner. I then started being the best I could be. I started really paying attention. I started spending money on tools. And then about 2 years into my apprenticeship, this is quite important, I suppose. It's about the school of hard knocks and how some people see me now driving a nice car, having a nice life, and think it's easy for him. But it's not always been like that. There's been struggles. So
Yeah.
2 years into my apprenticeship, my journeyman says to me, Scott, I'm fed up with this. I'm going to work in the bars in Greece. Do you want to come? I'm like, no, I want to finish my time. So I then started, so first of all, go back a stage, I missed the bit that was really important. When my mum told me that when you get a job, you can buy anything you want.
Yeah.
And I said, well, how'd you get a job? She gave me the yellow pages. That's me showing my age. But she gave me the yellow pages. She says, you start at A and you pick up the phone and you keep phoning until somebody gives you a job. And if nobody gives you a job, you start again at A and you keep phoning until somebody gives you a job. So basically, John said that he's leaving, he's going to work in Greece. I'm like, what am I going to do? So picked up the yellow pages, started phoning builders. I'm looking for a job. I'm in my second year of my apprenticeship. So I got to speak to Millers, which were the biggest privately owned house builder in the UK at the time. Not a home builder, but a biggest privately owned builder.
Yep.
So I phoned up and I got through to this guy called Bill Forsyth, and I phoned him up and he said, I'm the contracts director. And I explained my story. I'm second year of my time. My journeyman's going away. I'm looking to finish my time. He said, if you're ever passing by, pop in. So I hung up the phone and I got the 2 buses to get from my house to his office. And I chapped the door about an hour and a half later. I says, is Scott Fairgrieve, we're just on the phone? He says, the boy with the apprenticeship says, yeah. He says, you've already got the job, but come in and tell me your story. So when you're keen, you're keen. So I got the job. I then finished my time. I then was always at the aim, as I thought the progression was contracts manager. So I thought it would be joiner, site foreman, contracts manager. But a job came up as a trainee quantity surveyor. But just before that, so first of all, my first knock was, I was halfway through my time, and then that was taken away from me. So I then just found another apprenticeship to finish.
Found another way, yeah.
The biggest firms. So then I was doing night shifts in the Halifax building societies as a joiner. So I'm getting paid double. I'm doing 7 o'clock at night till 7 o'clock in the morning, 7 days a week, getting paid double time. And they're through in Fife. I'm getting paid 2 hours travel, getting paid 26 hours a day. I can't remember the exact wages I was on, but see, I was on £300. I'm on £1,200. So I thought I was David Beckham. So I was living the great life. I was earning plenty of money. Because I was working all the time, I wasn't going out. So savings were coming up. And then I got the chance of going into the office and training as a trainee quantity surveyor. So I was sitting, by this time I met my wife when I was, my girlfriend then when I was 17. We're married now, we've been married all that time, but we were saving up to be married. So I was making this great money as a joiner and putting away savings. And then I got the chance of going in the office and training as a quantity surveyor. The money was £80 a week because I was back being an apprentice or the trainee surveyor. So £80 a week. Everybody worked 9 till 5. I had to work 8 till 6 because I was at college on a Thursday to make up the time. So I'm getting £80 a week now from £1,200. Then at 6 o'clock, I take my suit off and I put my jeans on and I go and do homers. In fact, that's me really showing my age now. I used to do homers for £5 an hour. I wish you could get a joiner for £5 an hour. So, and I'd done that just to survive. So I had 2 cars, I had to sell one of them. I then trained as a quantity surveyor. Doing it about 18 months. And the guy that trained me, Bill Forsyth, left and went to another firm. But after 18 months, because I had the background of being a joiner, being on site, doing the surveying was easy. So I was already I was getting sent out to me. So the job of a builder surveyor is to get as much money as they can from the client, and the job of a client surveyor is to pay the builder as little money as possible. So I was already going out to meetings, and I was winning, and I was getting
Yep.
great money in for my boss. So when Bill Forsyth left, he said, "I've got a job at another firm. I'm just going to take you on, Scott, as estimator surveyor. Put your money up to £400 a week, and we'll give you a company car." And I thought, happy days, just go there. So I
Yeah.
went there. I was there 4 weeks, and the company went bust. So I've left
Oh.
the biggest privately owned firm in the UK to another firm that's went bust after 4 weeks. Nothing to do with my pricing, by the way, but
No,
the firm.
no.
Then, so I then went self-employed. Sorry, so I never went self-employed. Got a job as a joiner. And when I was working as a joiner for another firm, I met this guy, Kevin, and he was self-employed. And he said, "Why don't we go self-employed together?" So to answer your question, I thought I was going a typical career route of joiner, quality surveyor, contracts
Yep.
manager, contracts director. And then my path got detoured, and I met a guy who was self-employed. We started doing kitchens for people and vaulted ceilings and bathrooms and things, and we built our business
Yep.
that way. And that's how I became self-employed. I never really thought about having a business. And then Kevin and I were that busy, we took on a shop, and then we took on extra staff. And some stories about that. I remember my first year in business going to my accountant, and a big black bag full of receipts. There you go. What's that? It's my
Yep.
books. Every time you want a receipt, it was in the van, and you just put it in there.
Yeah.
It was like
Yep. Yep.
horrendous. And the accountant's looking at me, and I'm thinking, what's... I think what the problem is for most business owners is they don't understand that everybody has a job to do. So, for example, the accountant, he can't do his job. So a joiner can't build the house if he's not got any timber.
No.
An accountant can't do his job if he's not got the right materials, which is the receipts and the proper records and things. So it was an eye-opener when he says, like, "Where's your PAYE records? Where's this? Where's that?" I'm like,
Yeah.
"I just used to get paid from the boss. So I've just been paying my guys. He's not even going to pay the tax and things." I'm like, "What? I never knew that." Like, where's the
No.
rule book? Where's the rule book
Yeah.
that shows you how to start your own business? There was nothing.
Yeah. Where's the rule book
Now
for
there's
for
internet,
business?
you can Google stuff, but back then there was nobody to speak to. There was nobody.
No.
So from then on, I started realizing that I had to learn. So I started reading books. I started studying self-belief, positivity. So I'm probably one of the most positive people that you'll ever meet. So anything that happens to me that's bad, I just learn from it. I find out what was my part in that situation. A lot of people like to blame somebody else. I like to find out what was my part in that. So, for example, that company I was there for 4 weeks and went bust.
Yeah.
There was nothing I'd done that I could have seriously said that was their fault. But no, I thought, well, if I had have researched that company, if I had asked to look at their financials, if I had have looked at them more, I might have seen they were on a shaky beg and stayed. So that was my fault. So I always take responsibility for my own actions. And I feel that when you do that, you're not wasting any time blaming somebody else. You're looking at what you've done wrong and you're fixing it for the next time when you move forward.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's kind of...
pointing fingers doesn't ever solve anything, does it? In fact, when you point a finger, you're normally pointing like 3 back at yourself, because
Exactly.
you need to take some responsibility, even if the situation wasn't your fault. It was possibly your responsibility that, you got yourself into that situation, and it's your responsibility to make sure that you move out of that situation in a positive way and actually move forward and recover. So yeah, I completely agree with you on that.
I'll give you so I was kind of where I got to becoming self-employed, and then I'll give you a fast tour of what I've done then, just because it might be of interest to people. I don't know, but so I'm self-employed, working with a partner, getting on great. I then decided to get into attics and extensions. So in Edinburgh, at that time there was millions and millions of pounds get spent a year on people improving their home, but nobody really doing it. So we started doing extensions. I remember the first one we ever done. So I could price them because I was a surveyor.
Yep.
I could price them, but because I was a joiner and a surveyor, I had no experience in actual building. I'd experienced seeing it on site and pricing it, but I remember the first day doing a job down at Meadowbank, just fingers crossed, hoping the brickie was going to turn up. So we booked a brickie, a guy I know, hoping he's going to turn up, and he turned up. We built our first extension, and then we turned over, and doing our first extension, we turned over. Oh, I wish I could remember the numbers now. We turned over something like, say, £100,000. Never made any money. Then we started really ramping up the sales, and we started getting really busy. The next year, we'd done £1 million in turnover. Never made any money. So we're working harder, 10 times as much, 10 times busier, but we're not making any money. And I remember, it's why I say that numbers are so important. I remember going at the end of the year to the accountant, turning over £1 million, and he said to us, "You've lost £10,000. And I actually remember standing in the corridor. He says, why don't you, it was myself and Kenny, why don't you go outside and have a wee think about that, and we can have a chat after it. So I remember standing with Kenny, tapping my pocket, saying, have you got it? I've not got it. Where is it? Laughing, because we had no idea how we could have lost. Like, how can
No.
you lose £10,000? Not realising that we're due 100 in and 110 out. So we've lost £10,000. And because you're just turning the money every month, because you're not paying attention to your numbers, you're not actually experiencing that. It's only if you
No.
stop, that whirlwind stops and catches up, you realise
Yes. Yeah.
it's basically like musical chairs. The music stops, you've not got a chair to sit on. So I remember him saying, you've lost £10,000. Like, why is that? So we then basically, because we were studying self-belief and going on positive mental attitude training courses and things, we came across Dan Pena. You'll have heard of Dan Pena. He's a billionaire now. So he used to run a course on showing you how to make money. So we flew out to Florida to meet Dan Pena and do his course. It's quite funny. We flew out and lost our luggage. So we're sitting in the seminar and everybody's got, so Dan Pena's quite a powerful guy. He wears the three-piece suits, he's like a
Oh, yeah.
so pure
Yeah.
pinstripe suits, braces. We're sitting there with our shorts and our t-shirts, and like stuck out like sore thumbs, and the whole room full everybody with their power dress, and we've got our shorts. We have to say, what they say to Dan? Say, we're really sorry, our luggage was lost. But the truth of it was, nobody in suits indicates it. Like, we're going to Florida. We thought we were going to Florida on a holiday, so we've
Yeah.
got holiday clothes. But we were at a business seminar with a guy who's really, really prominent. So anyway, what to rush out to Macy's and buy suits the next day, coming with the suits, never even had them in our case, and brilliant. So we met Dan, we done his course, and then we actually went into partnership with Dan. Dan came on board and took a chairman position in our business. We then decided Dan's speciality is taking cottage industries, what he calls them, wee mama and papa businesses, and
Yep.
growing. So we actually borrowed £100 million from the Clydesdale Bank as a war chest to go and buy different businesses in Edinburgh to consolidate and make a big firm.
Yep.
With some really powerful people on our board. That was a whole different experience. Like we brought in finance directors, sales directors. We were really, really, really good plan, but it just never worked. Basically, we never worked. There was an issue with, we were spending more money again than we were earning. Dan had said
Yeah.
he would always write the balance sheet. And it just got to the stage where it was, I think one of the hardest things I said at the beginning is that you need to know when to hold them and when to fold them. A lot of
Yeah.
people just continually just go and go, but you need to know when to fold, and that's actually hard, very, very hard
Yeah.
to just know when to fold. So we had to know when to fold, and it was not going to work. We closed that company down. It got put into liquidation. It was my first experience of real pain. Basically you've built a business, you've given it your all, you're working 7 days a week, 14 hours a day. The liquidator comes in and says, give me your phone, give me your credit cards, give me your keys, and off you go. And you're like, everything, your income, your business is just taken off you. It's horrible.
I mean, you're a positive guy, but that must have hit you. That
Yeah,
must have
it's
literally
horrible.
smacked you.
It does. So what happens then is, so we were quite high profile at that stage. And then when that happens, you go back and you evaluate what happened. So I realised what I'd done wrong. I realised what I should have got, what I never got, what I should have done, what I shouldn't have done. But I then and I was working all the hours under the sun. So I then decided that, you know what, actually winning the jobs and doing the extensions was easy. So that was my kind of forte. So I set up a wee business, and it's quite funny, because I called it Scott Way, because I was fed up of doing thing everybody else is going to do my way.
Doing
Scott
it
Way,
your
because
way,
it's my
yeah.
way. And then life was quite good. I can't remember what era that was, but I was earning 100 grand a year. I was playing golf 5 times a week. The business just ran over smooth because it was now much smaller than the bigger business that I had, and it was just easy. But during the time with Dan through growth, I had been, my eyes had been open to some of the real finer things in life. Like I was away getting helicopter lessons because I was going to buy a helicopter. We were away test driving Aston Martins. We were staying in St James Club in London, eating Le Gavaroche. So I was doing things that I never even knew existed before, and I
Yeah,
quite
you got the taste.
liked
Yeah.
them. So whilst life was good, I was driving a brand new Audi A4 at the time. I was playing golf. I was a member of a nice golf club. Life was good. We were going on holiday, but I wanted more. I think that's one of my traits. My wife has said to me for years and years, "You're never happy," and I'll say, "I'm always happy. I just want more." So I think that's
Yeah.
one of the things that steps me to get to the next level. So yes, I'm happy and content, but I want more. Now it might appear on the outside that you're never happy because you always want more, but I'm very happy. I just push myself to get. And in fact, that's one of the things I do. I never compare myself to anybody other than myself yesterday. So I just want to be better than I was yesterday, and I want to have more than I had yesterday. That's my philosophy there. So anyway, back to my wee business. I was doing well, things were good, but I decided that, you know what, that's not for me. I want more. But it was good. So back to you, say, did that even mean positive? It must knock the wind out your sails. I think I was
Mm.
hiding. Not hiding, but I think didn't want to put myself out there again in case that happened again and you got it taken off you. But I realised, like, the biggest regret in life is not doing things, not worrying about what
Yeah.
might happen. So I got back out there. I started growing my business, and I done a job for a guy at the West End of Edinburgh. It was a big job at that time. It was £250,000. They paid me to convert a townhouse into 5 apartments. And I made £50,000 on that in about 3 months. Like, that was good money back then.
Yeah.
Maybe like 150 grand in 3 months. Like, happy days. And I thought I was doing brilliant. And then he bought the building for 250, and he paid me 250, and he sold them for 1.25 million. I'm like, wait a minute, I don't know what. So, or I thought
Yeah.
I'd done all the work, but he obviously had to get planning permission and get the
Yeah.
architects done, and
Yeah.
he had to sell them and all the finance and all. But I'm
Yeah, but it
thinking,
always looks easy what everyone else has done, doesn't it? But yeah, yeah.
so I decided, so I'm actually quite an okay property developer now. I've built and sold over 50 million pounds worth of my own stuff. But that first deal, I don't think I could ever do it as fast as that again. I'm on holiday in Florida with my business partner, and I said to Kevin, we should be actually doing house building. Look how much that guy made selling the houses. We done the work. We should be actually, we should be building houses. So came back, touched down on the Sunday. On the Monday, I phoned my solicitor. I says, I want to build some houses. He says, I've got a church that's for sale, Scott. One of my clients is just selling a church. Would you be interested in that? I said, yeah. So I went and had a look at it. I had planning permission to build 12 flats. It was in the good old days when you could borrow 75% of the value, or
Mm.
75% of the value, of the value or the valuation, whatever was the low. Now it's the lower, but then it was
Right.
whatever was higher. So
Yeah.
we'd agreed to buy this for 215,000. It valued at 350. So we could actually borrow all the money. So we got basically got 100%. Well, we got 75% of the value, but we got 100%.
Yep.
We then got funding to build the flats. We built 12 flats in a year, sold them, and I made 714 grand. I'm like, yeah, beauty. This is what we should
Yeah.
be doing. So took the money, we bought another site. We then started growing rapidly. That's when I started living like I was David Beckham. So I stayed I bought a plot in Archerfield, which is probably the number 1, number 2 housing estate in Scotland, right on the golf course. There was 100 houses. We bought 4 plots. We built 2 and sold 2, but I bought a plot, and my partner bought 1. We built houses there. So back to the power of the mind, I told you that I grew up in a stud partition across the kitchen. So
Yep.
I basically got my architect to draw me a mansion I told him to draw a mansion on an acre of ground with a house that I wanted, and I drew it, and it was on my office wall for 10 years. Used to look at this every day saying, I want that. I'm going to have that. I'm going to stay there.
Mm.
Anyway, my old next door neighbour says to me, they're selling plots of land down at Archerfield, Scott. You should have a look. I've just joined the golf. So I went down, had a look, and they showed me a map with 100 plots. And I said, I want that one. And it was plot 33. And it was 1.15 acres. And the guy said to me, he said, that there's 5 different house types. He says, that's a house type Y. And I said, can you show me a house type Y? And the house type Y was just about identical to the house that I'd been looking at for 10 years. So like when you look at
Right.
them side by side, you're like, wow. So that was the power of the mind. So anyway, I built
Yep.
this house. I built it with no budget. I spent 2.25 million building the house. It was a dream house. It was a beautiful oak staircase that curved the way up. It was absolutely stunning. It was 9,500 square feet, so a big house. This was my dream, to stay in a mansion, and I achieved that. It was absolutely fantastic. So life was great. We were earning really good money at the time. We were just under 40 million in sales just in that last year that we had, and the credit crunch hit. So every single time that I had made money, I spent some of it, but I bought another site.
Mm.
The credit crunch came. So I was probably worth about £12 million. And credit crunch came. The banks, the value started coming down. Banks started saying, give us our money back. We'll give you 2 weeks to do it. And then suddenly well, you know yourself, the whole world ended. My accountant
Yeah.
said to me, draw a line in the sand, Scott, step over it. Everything behind's gone. So basically, and I was earning good money, stopped overnight. So stopped overnight, your savings start coming down, because when you're living at a level, it costs money to live at that level.
Yeah.
Suddenly, they just coming down if there's nothing coming in. So basically, lost everything again. The different circumstances this time, but that was just, who could have thought the credit crunch was going to happen? Well, maybe some people did, but it was horrible. And the only thing at that time that gave me comfort is I remember the night that my accountant told me that. I was lying in bed just cuddling my wife, and I just thought, you know what, I've got my family, and that's all that counts. I then realised that my priorities had been slightly out of sync. My whole life had been chasing material goals. So I'd been chasing
Mm.
things that could buy me money, that could buy me things, not
Yeah.
actually happiness. So in every one of my goals, so I've been a big goal setter since I was 16, but every one of my goals up until then had all been financial. So I changed that. That very year, I like the bells to come in and hug my knee. So happy New Year to
Yeah.
everybody, all the best. And I go to my office and I write my goals. So like within the first hour of the year, I start by writing my goals of what I'm going to do that year. So upstairs, write my goals, and they were all, back then there was no financial goals, they were all happiness goals. Now I've got a couple of financial ones, but the majority of them are still happiness. Like my number one goal is to be the best person that I can be, the best father, the best husband, and the best friend. That's my number one goal, just to be the best person that I can be. So, um, yeah, I lost it all. Well, nearly all, not quite all. Had to start again, but
Yeah. You
again,
took a hit, and I think, even if you don't lose it all, just that hit mentally, that it takes a lot out of you, doesn't it? But you stayed positive.
yeah, I was just going to say that because I'm a positive guy. What I looked on that is, see, if I had have kept going the way I was going, I would have been dead by now, a heart attack. Stress would have took me. So
Mm.
the way I was going, like I was going on a holiday, and because I definitely, back to the business never gets easier, you just get better with it. Imagine being on holiday and you're trying to go into a Disney ride with your kids in Orlando, and the lawyer just phones you up and said, "Oh, that person's backed out. You're not getting that £500,000 for that house." But you've already left instructions when that £500,000 comes in to spend it on do that, and you're like, oh, like, what am I going to do now? Like, they say, come on, Dad, there's a queue. Like, get me on the phone. I need to get Wi-Fi. It was just pure stress. And I realised when I looking back, I was angry all the time because I was just, I would say, everybody, I don't get stressed. I'm like, I don't get stressed, but you're angry all the time and you've got a short fuse. I realised that was actually stress. So
Mm.
I'd realised that, wait a minute, that's not actually for me. I'm working all these hours under the sun. So I stayed in that beautiful mansion on the 17th fairway of one of the best golf courses in Scotland, and only managed to play it 3 times that year because I was too busy. Like, what's the point
Yeah.
in that? So basically decided then I'm going to do it all again, but this time I'm going to do it with time, and me spending time on me as a priority. So I go to the gym, I ride my bike, I do yoga, I swim, I do all these things daily. I work enough to give me what I want to live. That's another thing as well. I was trying to create a lifestyle of money that was probably 10 times more than I actually need to live the life I want to live. So
Mm.
I'm could that probably, I'm positive. See, if I wanted to be a billionaire and I wanted to have my own jet and my own island, I'm pretty sure I'd be able to make the sacrifices to be able to do that. But I don't want to make these sacrifices. I want that balance. I didn't realize there was
Yeah.
balance before. There was either, for me, there was that or that. There was
Yeah.
no money and all the time in the world, or all the money in the world and no time. And I didn't realize that you could have balance. So
Yeah.
I then worked out. So back to one of the questions is why you need to know your numbers. I worked out what I needed to live the life I wanted to live. Now, still a good life. I mean, I enjoy my holidays. I enjoy nice things. Um, I can't buy anything I want, as and go and buy a private jet, but I can buy most things that I want at this level. So I then worked out that in order for me to earn that, what I need to turn over, then that's my goal. I don't want to do any more because I want to be
No.
able to enjoy it. And I think the last 3 years, 4 years, I'm not going to say they've been the happiest in my life because my kids getting born, getting married, and all these things are all great achievements in life. When
Yeah.
BMX is my sport. When I managed to do my first 540 nose tap on my front wheel, that was an amazing time. But the last 4 years that I've had balance that has just been brilliant. So the
Yeah.
balance. So for me, I want to live another 40 years, but if I go now, pretty much achieved everything I want to do, and I've just got that right level of happiness, work, money, life, and just all these things. It's just working for me just now.
Yeah, and designing, you mentioned there about designing the business around the lifestyle you want. And I think actually, possibly when I say an awakening, maybe that's the wrong word, but you realized actually you can always get more money. The one
Yeah,
thing none of us can get is more time.
exactly.
And, you know, actually, time's the most important commodity that
Oh,
all of us
definitely,
need.
100%. And you also realize, well, no matter how hard you work, there's always more to do. Like
Yeah.
you can, I used to do this as well. Before we go on holiday, I would work till like 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, try to get everything done. And you get all done before you go on holiday. When you come back, there's no pile. It's just
Yeah.
never ending.
Yeah.
So you have to just prioritize your time. I don't know how many times I've said, I'm not going to the gym, I'm too busy. I'm not going to that, I'm too busy. Whereas now I prioritize going to the gym, and then I
Yeah.
still get the work done, but I don't work as long as I used to. But in fact, I would argue that I'm more productive now.
Do you think that's because you're stricter on prioritizing working on the right things that
Yeah, yeah. It's so easy to get sidetracked and pulled away to the side doing something else. Especially if you're the boss. Everybody comes and want to give you their monkeys. So
yeah.
you just have to. And then at first, I think the video you said you had watched was it's the E-Myth. That's a great book,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, I've read it.
so many people just say, "I've done it myself." They're not doing that right. Just give it to me, I'll do it. Like, you
Yeah.
can't do that. Give it to me, I'll do it. Now, and it's harder. And it was actually one of my. So I've got a family business now. So my three children work in the business, which is brilliant. And my brother-in-law is one of their directors, owners, and my wife does some bookkeeping. Well, she's just about retired now, I suppose. But one of the so I used to want to try and do everything myself, but my son said to me, he said, "Dad, I'll be able to do that deal sheet. I'll be able to work that out for you." And typical when you're too busy, I've not got time to show you how to do that. How am I going to explain it to you? It'll take me longer. I might as well do it myself.
Yeah.
And he said to me, "Yes, but if you explain it to me and I do it, you'll have more time because I'll be able to do it in the future."
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
you
hard
need
to
find the time once to
argue was
show
correct.
someone.
So
Yeah.
I told him how to do it. He can now do it better than me, and I don't have to do them now. So what I've now realised is rather than get annoyed when somebody doesn't do it like you, is teach them how to do it like you. Now they'll never be able to do it like you because they're not you, but you'll be able to get them to do it to a level that works for the business. Because
Yeah.
if they were you, they'd be away doing it themselves. So, but
Yeah.
yeah, so I now train people, which was really hard because I know I spent years as well saying I'm not a teacher, I'm not a good teacher, I can do everything, but I'm not. And then with that mindset, you're never going to be a teacher, are you? So now I've reversed that, and I've now say that no, I can teach people to do that easy.
I
So
think we can all teach in a certain way. It's just having an understanding that people don't know everything that we know. And I think it's really, they always say, you only know what you know. And you've had it, haven't you, in a quiz and you hear the question, you're like, oh, and when you hear the answer, you're like, oh, it's obvious. But if you
uh,
didn't know it at that time, it doesn't
yeah.
help. And I think we forget that not everyone knows what we know. Not everyone's had the experiences that we've had. And actually we can all teach, but equally all of us can learn.
Oh, definitely. I think that's a great one is you only know what you know, but one's even better for me is you don't know what you don't know. That took me a long time to
No.
realize. So
Mm,
so when somebody doesn't know, then how are they going to know? So that's
yeah.
where you have to teach them. So yeah, you're right. So if I'm looking at something, I'm writing a contract and we've put a clause in it, I'm writing that clause knowing that if it's a game of chess, which all business is, that 4 moves down the line, I might have to counter that. So I want to make sure that that's written, not just for somebody reading it, but when that happens, and that happens, I'm covered. So if you
Yeah.
don't know, you can write that. So that's the bit you have to teach is you have to teach them what they don't know. Um, so, but
Yeah, and
yeah,
actually, yeah, I guess a lot of I speak with lots of business owners, and when I'd say, explain a system or something, they're like, I'd never thought of it that way. And actually, I've always got into trying to reframe problems or reframe situations so that people go, yeah, I've never really thought about it like that, because actually that then just there are other ways, but
And even,
how
as
did
you
how did we know?
as you said a minute ago, sometimes the solution is so simple. I remember we got a new puppy, and we had a dog trainer, and so we had a dog that was 6 months old. And we got the puppy, so there was 6 months of difference, and the puppy kept stealing the every time you threw a ball, the puppy would steal the dog off the older ball, the ball off the older dog. So I
Yeah.
phoned the trainer and I said, I can't get the puppy to stop stealing it from the older dog, and the older dog's just letting him. What can I do? She says, have you thought about taking two balls? I'm like, no, but I have now. Like, so
Yeah.
yeah, sometimes the solution is just so simple you just can't see it.
Yeah, sometimes you're so close to the problem that actually you can't see. It's like, trying to see, end of your nose or whatever, your finger on the end of your nose. You need to be further away to be able to actually
Yep.
see what the situation is. And I guess, yeah, so you're working with other businesses now and helping them improve. You've said a big thing is knowing your numbers. Is that so that I guess you know when to either get out, know when to make changes, because a lot of the time I hear people have run into cash flow problems. By the time they realize they've ran into that problem, it's almost too late.
Yeah. Yeah. So knowing your numbers is so important. Like I never knew my numbers way back in the beginning when the accountant says you've lost £10,000. I never knew my numbers when we were losing money at a faster speed just because we were bigger. So yeah, knowing my numbers. So all I've learned throughout all my experiences, one is your price. So you have to know your numbers. But first of all, knowing your numbers, what does that mean? So like there's no point getting a P&L at the end of the year or 3 months, 4 months, 6 months after the year's gone to look at your numbers and then think, oh, we lost that because you've already lost 3/4 of that again. If
Yeah.
you're doing something that
Yeah.
was silly. So you need to do your budget. So for me, the basics for business then is you need to set your budget, and your budget needs to be accurate. A lot of people just write a budget that they either leave in the drawer and don't pay any attention to, or they just say, we'll just say £100 for stationery, and put in that, and then spend £1,000 a month in stationery and wonder how they're not going to money at the end of the year. So
Yeah.
you must put your budget in place, and it must be realistic. You then need to make sure that your product that you're selling is profitable. So, for example,
Yeah.
we coached a company that had two sides of their business. They had a private side and a commercial side. And so I sat down with them and I ran all their numbers and what they were spending, what they were making. And on their commercial side, they were doing £20,000 a month, but the £10,000 was commercial, £10,000 was private
Yeah.
residential stuff. The £10,000 that they were doing commercial for other businesses was costing them 12,000, and the 10,000 that they're doing for private clients, they were making 4,000. So
Yeah.
they're making 2,000 profit. They think they're doing great. They said, we're going to double that. I said, no. I said, how to double your profit is stop doing the commercial stuff. And they
Yeah.
said, don't be silly. I said, I'm not being silly. I said, you're bringing in 10 and spending 12. If you just
Mm.
stop, you'll bring in 10 at the other bit and bring in 4. So you've doubled your profits and you've got half the work and go and play golf. Don't be silly. So I
Yeah.
had to break it down and show them that. But that I just seen that right away, because if you don't know what so if they doubled up their commercial and they would then be losing more money they're making on their private, they would go
Yeah.
bust. So how could
Yeah.
they're thinking, no, we're busier, we're making money, but you have to know that the product that you're selling is profitable. So that's number one. And then you have to make sure that one of the things we do as well is a lot of people try and advertise all their products and sell all their items, where you just need to focus on what is your top three. We've not got time to do everything. What's the top three things that make you the most money? They're the three things that you should be, well, sorry, not the top three that make you the most money, because you might have one that makes you loads of money, but nobody wants to buy it. So,
Yeah.
like, and
Yeah.
you learn that in estimating. If I'm going to price an extension for you and it's £300,000, I could either just guess it at 350 and hope I win it. I could guess it at 250, and if I win it, I might go bust. But I'm going to probably win loads at 250, but my price is wrong. Or I'm going
Yeah.
to win the odd one at 350, but not enough to keep run my business for the rest of the year. So your price has to be right. Too dear
Yeah.
is too dear, and too cheap is too cheap. It just has to be right. So, and
Yeah,
I
a
think,
lot of people think they need to be busier, don't they? I've heard
yeah,
that before. We just need to win some more work, and you think, well, that just brings other headaches. Actually, look at the current work you're doing. Is your profit level right?
exactly.
And actually, quicker way is actually, yeah, whether it's reducing overheads or just putting your prices up or whatever it is, actually, you don't need to be busier to make more money. You just need actually
Especially,
everything to be profitable.
I remember once looking at a cafe, and the guy said to me, "See, we're doing this special baked potatoes," and I said, "You've got lots of fillings there." He said, "We buy them in." I said, "We buy them in." So say they had 10 different fillings, but they're buying them in 12. Like a case of tuna mayonnaise does 12 portions, but
Yep.
10 different fillings, so 120 portions. I said, "How long do they last?" He says, "3 days." I says, "How many baked potatoes you sell?" He says, "About 10 a day." He says, "But we make £3 on each potato because we're selling them at 5.95 and the filling's only £1." I says, "How much fillings you throw out?" He said, "Quite a lot." I said, "So your filling cost is not £1. If you're throwing £4 worth of fillings in the bucket every 3 days,
Mm,
and it says the filling's not costing you £1, it's costing you £4. So you're not making £3. You're actually losing £1 on every baked potato you sell." No. And he said, "Look, divide that by 12." And so he showed me his number. I says, "Yeah, but you're missing that part. You've got to get the whole picture."
mm.
So when you add everything together, I says, "You're losing money." I says, "So what you be better doing, make your cafe successful, every time somebody comes and asks for a baked potato, just say, 'I'm really sorry, we've not got any, but if you go to Baguette and Express and get one, here's a fiver for you. You go and buy it there." I says, "You'll make more money than you're making now." He's like, "Don't be silly." I says, "Well, you started it." So
Yeah.
yeah, so you need to know that your product that you're selling is making money, and then you need to make sure that if you're selling a baked potato that makes £1 and you need £100 a day in overhead, you need to sell 100 baked potatoes. If you can only sell 30, you need to do something different. You just
Yeah.
can't blind faith continue to sell them. But yeah, so back to you said a minute ago that we're doing lots of businesses now. We've actually scaled them back. We've realised that you can't spread yourself too thin. So we started growing these businesses and realising that it just wasn't going to work. So we've scaled them back. We've sold some of them, and we've only got 3 different businesses now, and we're concentrating on them, really taking them to the next level, which is good. It's exciting.
Yeah. And you're happier. Would you say I mean, no, that's maybe not yeah, you are happier,
Yeah,
even though
yeah,
you've always been a positive person, just because that balance is right between
yeah. And I never
earning
realised.
decent money.
Sorry, say again.
Yeah, you're earning decent money. You're
Yeah.
still pleased about that, but you
Yeah.
actually the time that you've got available to actually do other things, and
And
that's important to you.
more importantly, I'm earning the money that I set out that I wanted to learn to live the lifestyle I want to live. I'm not trying to earn double and working twice as hard. When
No.
so, if I'm in business with a guy just now who's brilliant. He's great. He says to me, "Still chasing that £1?" That's what he used to say to me. "Still chasing that £1?" I said, "Yep." And he said, "Just tell me this, Scott. You're going to do that deal. You're going to work all day. You're going to get another £1. What are you going to do with it?" I says, "Put it in my pocket beside my other £1." He says, "Exactly. What is the point?"
Mm.
Like,
Yeah.
what is the point? You're better just taking the £1 you've got and go and play golf. I'm using the pound as a figure, but you
Yeah,
know what
yeah,
I mean?
yeah. As a yeah, yeah.
Aye, what's the point of just chasing the money all the time and not actually living your life? So yeah,
No.
so I'm very happy. I'm living the life that I want to live now. Um, uh, yeah, I was on holiday 8 times this year. Just I, I always said to my wife as we met when I was an apprentice joiner, with little money. Then you start getting some
Mm.
good money. Now I remember saying to my wife, "I'll be better when we win that job, when I get that done, when we do this, when we do that."
Mm.
So fast forward, wow, 30 years, 30 years plus, we're now at the stage where everything I said, the lifestyle that I have promised on my whole life, we're living. And that's
Yeah.
good. That's happiness. So we're doing what we want
Oh,
to do. It's good.
Scott, that's been brilliant chatting to you today. I want to finish on just one little thing. Obviously, numbers is obviously a key thing, but what one tip would you give to someone thinking who's maybe employed at the moment and they're thinking about going out and starting a business? You mentioned the E-Myth. I think I'd
Yeah.
probably say that's a really key book to read. But what would be your one tip on if someone was going out and starting their business now?
So again, it's going to go back to numbers. If whatever you're going to do, you need to make sure. So I hear all the time that a hairdresser has opened up a new hairdressing shop in the area that she stays in, and she's looked at other people's prices and just set her prices to that. That's only half the story. Like their overheads might be different, right? So
Yeah.
you must know your numbers. You need to know that what you're selling, you're going to make a profit, and then you need to know how much profit do you need to make to cover your overhead, and then how much do you want, and then that's your target. That's good. So definitely knowing your numbers. You also need to have thick skin and be prepared that not everything is going to go the way you want it to go. There's going to be curveballs. There's going to be good times, bad times, sad times, happy times. You just have to, if you know your products, if you know your products right, you know you're making money at it, just persevere. Like, I think there was a Kevin Costner film, Field of Dreams. I always remember it stuck out. If you build it, they will come. So I just keep in my mind, like, if I develop a product that I think is great to the market, I have blind faith and laser beam focus and belief that that is a good product and I'm going to be able to sell it. So I believe in what I'm doing, and I just keep
Yeah.
believing. And no matter how many times I get told no, I just keep saying no. This is a great product, and I keep going. And if only if I believe it, I have to believe it. So I have to know that
Yeah.
what I'm doing is right. I have to know that it will make me the right money. And like, say I have to sell, well, whatever business. Say I have to bring in £1.4 million worth of customers in the trampoline business. I will bring that in every year. You might not, you might have a month where you only do 70,000. You don't give up. You think,
No.
right, what happened there? What happened? Oh, it was sunny. Right, what can we do then to bring the people in when it's sunny?
Yeah.
What can we do? And we can change and just keep working away, keep tweaking at it, and just finding out what's not working, and then fix it, and then just keep. That's one just quick story. There's life's like a field full of gates that are open and sheep are in the field. And if it's your job to keep the sheep in the field, you've got to close all the gates. You can't just close one gate, because you close that gate, they'll run out that gate. So you've got to
Yeah.
close that gate, that gate. So it's your job as a business owner is to close all the gates. And even the ones when you come back, you've closed it and somebody's left it open, you've got to go back and close it again. It's your job to keep closing the gates so you keep everything
Yeah.
there. So, and then just persevere and know your numbers. That's the short version.
Scott, that's been brilliant. Thank you so much for your insights today, and the story that you've told us. I genuinely really
Thank you. It's been
enjoyed
a
it. So
pleasure.
yeah, enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. Cheers.